Hey guys, it's me, Uncle Hot Sauce, and today we are just gonna do another YouTube video. I don't plan on editing it too much, but today we're gonna carve a little block of wood, and I got some new carving knives. I have my whole set right here. I got my thumb all taped up. I got my glove. It's all good. Now I will admit, I did cheat a little bit. I've been working on this a little bit earlier. It's meant to be a little orthodox cross. So what I plan on doing is carving out the body, leaving the back of the wood, more so rounding it out, and then we'll probably stain it. But yeah, so I'll be here just kind of carving away. But and I haven't been carving for very long, if I'm being honest. I really just got these knives yesterday, and I've just started getting into woodworking. But I think it's actually been very helpful. I've enjoyed the process a lot. I made a few good things. I mean, if some of you know that are close to me, I recently made my wizard staff, which is meant to hold white monsters and or peace teas, whatever you may see fit. But today we're gonna just do a little kind of projecting cross right here. So as you can see, you can feel on the insides. And I actually do plan on staining it. Let me grab it off my table with some of this wood stain right here. I'm gonna stain the outside of it as if it were bark. And then I also am planning to get the abbreviated Latin numbers off this. And for those of you that don't know, this is the reference to it. It's a little cross right here, top bar, middle bar, and bottom bar. Now for those of you that don't know what exactly the Orthodox cross is, it's a Christian symbol that's been used, by the Orthodox Church. No surprise there. But it's been used for almost more than 1,000 years at this point. And the origins and the symbolism of the cross, I believe, is very special. I myself am not Orthodox. I'm actually learning I'm learning what it means to grow in my faith and what, I view, not what I view, but what I've learned what absolute truth is. I don't believe we just define our own truths. I don't believe that at all. I think truth is objective. The same way gravity, everyone knows that to be true. The same way everything else. Now, but there are a lot of things I just don't know. And that's okay. But anyway, back to the cross. So the symbolism of this cross right here, you have your top bar, your middle bar, and your slanted bar. Now, top bar, for those of you that don't know, it's meant to help teach a little lesson from the crucifixion of Jesus Christ. The top bar in the Gospel of Luke would have been a sign they would have put above his cross. And the sign would have said, "Hail, King of the Jews," basically mocking Christ for who he was. And they would have put it in 3 languages, which is Hebrew for the Jews, Greek for the commoner, and Latin for the Romans. So that anyone that walked by would basically be able to mock him no matter what tongue they spoke from. The middle bar would have been where his arms would have been. And basically his arms holding out as if they were on the cross. But the footstool is something that I find very special. See, in the account of Luke, Jesus was crucified in between 2 thieves, one on the left and one on the right. But one on his left mocked him, saying, "If you're the Son of God, save us and then save yourself." Because, and then the one on the right basically called him out on it and said, "You fool, we did nothing to deserve, he did nothing to deserve this. We did everything and we deserve to be here." And he basically asked a very simple command before Jesus passed and said, "Lord, remember me in your paradise." And Jesus said, "Today you would be with me in that paradise." All right? And that's why we honor not only Christ's decision, but also the thief on the cross. All right? That's why this bar is up and this bar is down. The one that had faith, the one that did not. Now it's very special to know. So we do not actually know much about the thief on the cross, other than he was crucified with Christ. We do not know if he was Jew or Gentile, whether he was baptized or not. We have no idea. We just don't know. But it's still, even though a mustard seed worth of faith is all it really takes to be saved. It's just a mustard seed worth of faith and a true desire to really want to be forgiven. And so that's why I really like the cross. And I personally wear an Orthodox cross chain everywhere I go, just to, because I feel like, I go to college a lot, and I think it's very normal when like a traditional cross, like just like 2 bars, that's fine and all. It's a good cross, it's a good symbol, but I think it's just become so ingrained with Western society where we just wear that and most people don't know. Like I know a ton of guys that wear crosses like these just because they come from Christian backgrounds, but they don't believe it at all. Or people that'll get cross tattoos or Jesus pieces or things like that, and they don't believe in any of that. And it really bums me out because it's just like when someone sees that, they're just like, oh, that could be a Christian or that could be someone who belongs to the faith. But then they're being poor representations of what Christ was truly about. And I just don't want to be that person. I really don't. So that's why I got the Orthodox cross, because once I understood the symbolism, people, and I've gotten a lot of it, people have come up and asked me, they're like, what does that mean? What is that? I've never seen, what is that cross? And I get to tell them the whole story. We get to open up the Gospel of Luke, and, I get to talk about it bit by bit. And I think it's absolutely beautiful symbolism, and it's been used for thousands of years. And that's why we're carving the Orthodox cross today. You can see a little bit. I just outgraded a little bit of these 2 bits, but we're going to try to work on it from here on out. Now, as I said before, I have not been carving for very, very long, and that's okay because today I am learning. And that's all, I don't think people ever really do stop learning, whether that's, learning how to play video games or in school or carving, doing art. You're always learning something. It may not be the most important thing in the world, but, it's fun. Just let it be fun, and it's okay. No need to worry about it too much. And, that's why I don't really plan on editing too much of my videos, because, it's just meant to be fun. It's meant to be for my friends and for people that do seem interested. I'm not going to be one of those people that be like, subscribe, do everything like that. I don't want to be the next Mr. Beast. All respect to him. I think he's, done a lot for YouTube, for YouTube and things like that. But for me, I just kind of want to be, out there and just kind of post and have more. This is kind of like a creative bank, if that makes sense. But yeah, I've always been a very creative person. I think I've always liked drawing and music and things like that. And I do like trying new things, whether or not I am good at them. Sometimes, I tend to hobby hop a lot, which is kind of why I gave this channel a try, because I'm just like, okay, well, if I do this or do that, it's just a creative outlet and people can see, and I don't have to just share with my, small friend group. It's just like anyone that has a phone or a laptop or a YouTube account can hop on, say hi, and really hopefully appreciate what I do. And if you don't, all right, fine. You can click off, have a nice time, and I understand it's your time on YouTube, so you should be able to enjoy it. Just don't let it become an idol. And, but yeah, what I plan on doing for the rest of the channel is just, at this point, just woodwork. I might do some silent videos where I'll probably get some, what are they called? They're kind of like the Snapchat glasses, the ones where you just put cameras on them and then they'll show you, and that way you can see from my point of view and see what I'm working on. Because right now I'm just recording off my phone. I'm as fancy as Applebee's. I don't really got all that stuff. I do have a camera, but it's currently at my new apartment. And it's all the way out in Pennsylvania. I'm currently in Ohio right now. But yeah, we'll see where it goes. But yeah, I'm open-minded and willing to try new things. If it goes well, great. If it doesn't go well, great. At least I tried. I did better than the guy sitting on his couch eating Doritos and, scrolling on TikTok. I'm actually the one, out here carving wood, having a good time, talking to myself and talking to you, whoever you may be. I have no idea. So far, I got like 4 subscribers. I know there's a couple kids at Camp Carl, which is where I do currently work at. Next week is my last week, but I think it's awesome. I'm not sponsored by them, but I am going to give a shout out. Shout out to Camp Carl. They are a fun little camp out in Ravenna, Ohio. They are just some of the nicest people you will ever meet. They're good Christ followers. They're absolutely just wonderful, wonderful people that love God and love kids. And I've been working there, for about 4 summers now, and I'll be wrapping up my 4th one as a photographer. I did counsel a couple of years, and there's some times where I think my views have definitely had changed. Working there, I was very new to the faith. I didn't always believe in God, but I went there as a kid, growing up, and I remember just having so much fun, and I was just like, let me give this a try. And summer camp is very important. I do like working there, but you get all walks of life, and that's just what I love. You'll get like the poor kids, the rich kids, the blacks, the whites, everybody in between. It doesn't matter. You get to just forget about the world for a week, have fun, get some photos, and bring them home, and just have an amazing time. Am I the smartest every time I am at camp? No. I mean, I go there and I dress up as a wizard half the time, which is why I made the wizard staff, as I talked earlier in the video. But it's good. Yeah, it's really good. I do like being with the kids and being with good believers. Even though we don't fully agree on everything, whether that's a different denomination or different views about God. I mean, I think we still all learn from one another, and that's what I do love. Heck, I remember there was a couple weeks ago, I wasn't counseling, but I was doing a support staff, which is basically I go to a cabin and I make sure that I tell them bedtime stories, make sure they all go to bed, crosstalk is good, and just help out the counselors in any way I can. And we had 10 kids in this cabin, and all of them were from different denominations. We had an Orthodox, a Catholic, a Baptist, a non-denominational, a Pentecostal. We even had a Mormon, and I was just like, holy cow, dude. And I thought it was like gonna go because like, oh, we believe it's out. They're all, most of them are the same things, just different fonts. And I didn't want us to be like messed up on the small things, but they were like learning about one another and like learning about my background, and I was learning about their backgrounds and what they understood about God, and it's just so beautiful. I mean, and we also have kids that don't come from religious families, and that's all right. I'm not going to treat you any differently just because on what you think or what you are known to believe in. I think we're here to have fun, but I'm just going to give you what I know. I'm not here to be a bully. God doesn't call me to be a bully, and I want to respect people as much as I can, And I have people from, and there are kids that don't fully believe in what, we teach them, and okay, cool. I can't believe for you. And that is one of the hardest things, about working there, because you just want to love it. You just want them to know the truth that, and I understand if there's people on watching this right now that are not part of the faith, welcome. I'm so glad you're watching this, because really, it's not, even though this channel is about me, but it's not fully about me. It's not about, however I view things and dictate, you have to believe this and that's why, just like, do I want you to? Yeah, I think it'd be awesome, but, I can't, me wanting to believe, like, I would give up my own salvation so that knowing that everyone in the world could be saved. But that's just not how it works. That's like me trying to work out hoping, someone else will lose weight. It doesn't work that way. But it's okay. And I understand, and I respect people's beliefs, and I just hope that you respect mine, and yeah, and treat others as you would treat yourself. That's the golden rule, and that's literally what Christ preached on the Sermon on the Mount. All right, so we're working on the Orthodox cross right now. This is the progress so far. So yeah, so I'm currently working on this side. Before that, I was working on this side here, and kind of going up here. So I'm kind of just cutting away, and which is also why I'm using this thumb, because I could cut towards myself, but I don't want to like cut myself with my thumb, and it's also why I'm using a protection glove. If you do see this, use proper protection when dealing with a knife, things like that. I currently just have a basic tool set, like a few chisels and knives, nothing too crazy. I'm just a beginner, so I'm just using beginner's equipment. I literally just grabbed a wood carving kit off Amazon, but I got a bunch of like basswood, which is also known as the softwood. And I'm just learning as I go. I mean, we also have like a wood craft store, about 15 minutes up the road from where I'm currently crashing right now and recording this video. But yeah, so I get to ask them and see what they like, and I also do like carving other things. I mean, I like making tobacco pipes for friends, not that I'm encouraging smoking or anything like that, but it is nice, it's like having a nice glass of wine. You're not doing it to get drunk, you're not doing it to go crazy and party, no, you just sit, relax, and be thankful, and, it's just like you do it in moderation, you do it in a healthy way, all right? And, I don't think, and I do think it's a lot better than cigarettes, in all honesty, because with the cigarette, it's 15 ingredients with a good bowl of pipe tobacco. Hopefully it's just one. Now, I'm not saying, hey, inhale as much smoke as you can. No. But, treat it as if it were alcohol. If you drink, 3 or 4 times a day, every day, your health's not going to do good. But if you have like one drink, once a week or something like that, oh, you're going to be fine. Is it the healthiest thing? No. But, you're going to die anyways. So, it's all good, Same thing with like eating candy and things like that. I'm not saying, I look like I could eat a whole box of brownies by myself. But, it's all about moderation and learning about self-control. I mean, even Jesus drank wine, but he never got drunk, And even so, he himself was saying, you can drink, just don't get drunk. Getting drunk is a sin. And, even gluttony, we mostly think of gluttony as like, the fat guy, and it's one of the 7 deadly sins. Well, gluttony can be anything. If I treat woodworking and I just do that all the time, but I don't pay my bills and I don't do anything, that's gluttony in a way. Or lack of self-control. If I'm constantly eating, cookies and cakes and ice cream, but I have no self-control, that's gluttony in a way. If I, treat, my favorite movie or my favorite TV shows, and I just abuse the snot out of my relaxation time, that's gluttony in a way. Now, we're not perfect, but that doesn't give us an excuse to do sinful things, such as gluttony. But mercies are new every day. Mercies are new every day. That doesn't mean you should do it. Salvation is not a get out of hell free card. And I find it very unique, especially with Christianity. There's this underlining notion or belief, even with most religions in the world, that when you have to work your way up to heaven, you have to do these certain aspects and check off all the boxes, and then by God's mercy you go to heaven. Now, don't get me wrong, I do believe in God's mercy, don't get me wrong with that. I love God's mercy. But I don't believe that good actions get you to heaven, right? Because I would be very, very burnt out with that. No, I'm kidding. No. But, with Jesus Christ, and he paid the sins for all. And one time I heard this comedian, and she was on stage, and she had left Christianity, and she had some big compliments. She was like, I could be a murderer, I could be a thief, I could be fill in the blank, but all I gotta do to Jesus is say sorry, and all of it's better. No, it doesn't work that way. If I'll give you an example. If I were to get arrested, and then my best friend bails me out, right? And I say, thank you so much, I'll never do it again. but then I just go do it knowing that he's going to bail me out, I'm not really thankful for that. And, I wouldn't treat my best friend that way, so why would I treat God that way in any way? Now, am I going to be perfect? No, And I think God is well aware. I don't think God's an idiot. I think he's well aware. And I think there's this apologist and bioethicist, and I've read a couple of his books, and I think he describes it very well. His name is John Lennox, and he is a professor out in Oxford. And he wrote this one story that I think fits very, very well with how salvation with God works in the Christian faith. Let's say that I have a girlfriend, and this is the story. Let's say that I have a girlfriend, all right, and it's her birthday. And I go up to her, and I hand her a present. And in this present, she unwraps it up, and it's a cookbook. Not off to a good start already, but hold on. She opens this present, and it's a cookbook. And inside this cookbook has all the famous thou shalls. Thou shalt add 1 cup of flour. Thou shalt add some eggs. Thou shalt add some sugar. Thou shalt add 1 ripe banana to make this holy banana bread. All right? And she makes this banana bread and gives it to me. And I eat this up and I say, this is very good banana bread. Tell you what, keep making this banana bread for me, and when you die, I'll think about loving you. That's horrible. That's a very toxic relationship. That's how, no human would treat that way. But that's how we see God, And I'm like, I got to do this, and this, and this. And, hopefully when I die, God will let me go into heaven and everything like that. And God will accept me for who I am. But that's not even how humans treat each other. But the girlfriend continues to make banana bread. But for a different reason. She knows that her boyfriend really, really loves her. She really, really loves him. And she's not making banana bread out of fear of if I don't do this, he won't love me. No, it's because my boyfriend loves me and she and I love her, she chooses to make banana bread for me. Now, is she going to be perfect all the time? No, she's not going to be perfect all the time. She may forget a banana, or she may, mess up the tablespoons to teaspoons or something like that. I don't know. I'm not a baker. But what should her response be? I should be like, hey, you forgot to add the bananas. And she's like, oh, I'm so sorry. Let me go fix that up for you. Or, hey, you forgot this. Oh, I'm so sorry. Let me go fix this up to you. But in this, she's not making banana bread because to earn my love, but rather because I love her and she loves me, she chooses to make banana bread for me as a relationship. If that makes sense. And I think that's how, God often works. Christ comes down, gives us this wonderful gift, his body and blood, so that and pays for our sins, right? And I choose to accept him by making the banana bread. But I'm not, I said sorry. But through this, of me making banana bread, I'm not making banana bread to be like, I gotta do this, and this, and then maybe at the end of my life, when I die, God will accept me into heaven. No, it's because Christ loved me, and because I love Christ, it's a relationship. And I choose to make banana bread for him, or I choose to do these actions, not because he's like, you gotta do this, but because I love him and he loves me. And that's such a unique way to view God and to look at things. And that's why I find Christianity just so interesting. But that wasn't always the case. I didn't always view religion the same way. I was raised, if from my previous video of me praying the rosary, I mentioned it a little bit, but I wasn't always religious. I grew up in a religious household. But, I always had questions about God, and I always had, things like, if God's supposed to make me happy, or if I take this bread and wine, it's gonna make my life better. But honestly, it just didn't. I still felt sad. I still felt horrible inside. and I was just like, God's not real. And like similar to the like my definition of God was very much like George Carlin's definition of God, which is a bad way of viewing it, where it's like an invisible man lives up in the sky and he looks down on his people. And the big invisible man in the sky has these list of 10 rules. And if you break these 10 rules or anything slightly related to the 10 rules, he'll send you down to the lake of fire to burn forever and ever and ever and ever. But he loves you. And he always needs more money, you know. That was my view of God, you know. I'm just like a big invisible man in the sky who, you know, tells me not to do these things and blah, 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 blah. Because and then I'm supposed to give money, or I'm supposed to do this for church, and I'm supposed to be a good boy and not question anything. So by the time I was like 10th grade, I was like, I'm done. Now I didn't go out and about telling this to my parents, because first off, they were paying for my food and everything like that, and you know, I saw that believing in a God helped them out and made them really good people. You know, it just wasn't for me. And I had also gone to a very, very, very religious high school. And I hated it, you know. I went to a religious high school and I just saw people that were claim to be Christians and then do the complete opposite of what they said they were. And I was just like, I could be a more nicer, moral, you know, unbeliever than a hateful, hypocritical believer. And so I was very mad at Christians for a very, very long time. And so because of that, I was surrounded by, you know, people that were very mean to me. I mean, I was bullied a lot. I, you know, didn't fully understand God, and, you know, a lot of other things that were going on in my life, that oftentimes I would just skip my religious classes, or I would skip chapel, and I would just be like, all right, I'm done. I'm not going to do this. I'm just going to focus on my music and being creative and, you know, working at my job and everything like that. Because at this point, I just don't care. I just want to get my high school diploma, get out of Ohio, and out of this little farming town. So I would be skipping Bible classes and skipping school altogether, you know. But through this, there was a couple rooms in the entire high school that were very safe to hang out in. One would be the teachers' lounge, all right, which, you know, everyone was teaching, so I would go in and steal their coffee and go back out and, you know, act like I was, you know, needing to get something for the art class. And then there was my mentor's room. And my mentor, he taught video media at the school. He taught video media, and he knew where I was coming from. It was no surprise to him, because I can't tell. Either he was really good with kids, or I don't know what he saw in me that he knew, but he just knew, all right? And so I was very upfront, and I was just like, listen, I don't believe in God. I think Jesus just died and he didn't rise from the dead. And I don't think that there's anything beyond death. And so I'm just going to live my life how I do. And he said, all right, hey, you want to watch Peter Pan? I'd be like, yeah, I want to watch Peter Pan. You want some coffee? Yeah, I want some coffee. And I would sit next to him, and we'd be drinking coffee, watching movies, and, you know, I would just walk around and he would show all the students the projects that they were working on. Now, he, you know, was a very, very intentional guy. He's still alive. I'm not saying it was like past tense. No, he's a very intentional guy. And he would read these devotionals, all right, every day, and they would range from a variety of topics, whether that be about marriage or objective truth or just these ideas. He would read one chapter, close the book, and say, all right, everyone work on any projects, we're going to watch a movie afterwards. And so that's what we did. And, you know, I was just like, but some of these devotionals would ask really hard questions, like, where do morals come from? Or what happens after we die? And eventually over time, he would come up to me and he's like, Luke, don't come back to my class until you have like 3 possible answers. 3 possible answers. What happens when we die? 3 answers. All right. Don't come back until you have 3 possible answers. That's something that's new to you. All right. So I would literally like go skip Bible class to go read the Quran. Or, I was actually thinking for a while, maybe Judaism is the right way. I was actually thinking of becoming an Orthodox Jew. And many people actually don't know that. I was very, into, he turned me from an atheist to an agnostic, in just a very short amount of time. And then I was going to, and I finally was like, all right, I'm going to stick around for Bible class. And then they introduced like something for us. It was like this book. And the book was called Case for Christ. It was written by an atheist named Lee Strobel. But he left after studying the factual evidence, not the hippy-dippy, Jesus is my friend of mine, none of that stuff. But he would actually like look into the historical records, and he was originally trying to deconvert his wife, right, in the book. And I read that, and I was just like, I don't know, I have a reasonable doubt to believe that maybe Jesus is who he says he is, all right? I can't really rebuttal these arguments or refute these arguments. Like, maybe he is, all right? And, the Quran's cool, but it kind of contradicts, I believe, now I'm not here to defend anyone, but, there's just some things that I had when I read the Quran. I was just like, well, that doesn't copy with this ancient manuscript, or that doesn't copy with this. Again, I'm not here to put anyone down. That's just what I'm found, and I'm still learning, all right? I'm still learning, as I go. I'm only 22, I'm still learning. But I was just like, compared to like these texts and then like this book, Case for Christ, I was just like, okay, hold up. Maybe Christians aren't dumb, brainwashed people that are hippy-dippy, I love to wash feet sort of people. And so through this, I went up to my mentor, and I was just like, dude, I think I have a reasonable doubt to believe that Jesus might be God, all right? I just don't want to believe it. I just don't want to believe it because, again, I was also being heavily bullied a lot, all right? For the music I was into, or, I had tattoos pretty early on, and I would have like kids come up to me and be like, you're gonna go to hell for having a tattoo, and I'm like 20 now, I honestly don't care. I don't think, and tattoos are not a sin, by the way, they're not a sin, but some people think that way. And I was just like, listen, I don't want to be a Christian, because everyone I know that is religious is just a big butthole. I was just tired of it. And I was just like, I just don't want to be horrible to people. And he looked in my face and just said, then just do it better. Just do it better than them. And I was just like, you know what? Yeah, I'm going to do that. I'm going to become Christian to make people mad. That was how I thought. I thought, let me become religious to make religious people mad. That is so funny. I should do that. So I did. I prayed the prayer, Lord Christ, come into my life, with the wrong intentions. It was just it's wrong. I know it was bad. I didn't know that then, but it was just that then. And since then, I was trying to learn how to, become very much, and about 2 months go by, and I just graduated high school. And this summer camp, Camp Call, which I talked about earlier, was really low on male counselors. And so they were just hiring anyone that they could get their hands on. So I put in an application, and I got the interview. And through this, I was hired. I was just a baby Christian. I didn't really know too much about the Bible, on my own. I didn't really think, much about it. I was just like, oh, I'm Christian. I can teach them the basics. Let's do it. And I was just an awful person. I was just an awful person, claiming to be Christian, and then just like, because I was just like doing it to be against like other people. And I had this one buddy, and he like called me out, and he's just like, "You're the reason why Christianity has such a bad name." And that like, like with this knife, it like stabbed me in the heart. And so like literally, I became everything that I hated. I became like the religious hypocrite that took people down, and was just awful. I was just sucky. So I'm just like, all right, I need to actually have a heart posture change. And so with that, I started really taking it seriously. I started really understanding it, what it was. And over time, it's like a change. I think St. Augustine of Hippo, he describes change as like fire. It burns and it hurts, and it's so uncomfortable, but every day it just grows brighter, similar to a sacred heart. And I'm just like, oh my gosh. Yeah. And really, it's just like that slow change, and then that process of just like learning what it means to follow him, not what I think about him, but like genuinely to like follow what he says, and not what I do to spite people, or what I do because I think I know the truth or anything like that. It was just an utter surrender. And that was when I was 19. I'm 22 now, so I haven't really been Christian for terribly long, but I definitely do think that it has changed my life in many ways. I'm far more compassionate. I have a hard time holding and being unfiltered, so I have become far more filtered than I was, back in high school. Many of my friends would say I just am an unfiltered person, and I am. I try not to be, I try to be, but yeah, hence, me not thinking before what I say. And that's kind of like what I think my faith journey has been like. And now now there are some things I don't fully quite understand, and I'm still also trying to learn what it means to, I don't know, it's just hard to explain. Now, I still love science, and I still love everything like that, and I don't think that, don't think like the worst of me. First off, I don't think gay people are going to go to hell. I don't think that at all. I don't think that, people should, feel, I don't want to be a hypocritical person, and if I am, call me out on it. If you know me in person, call me out on it. I never want to be that person ever. I think that's horrible. And if I'm given a bad name for the faith, then, call me out on it. And so, yeah. So that's kind of like where I come from and why I'm carving this. And, I just love this free form, just talking, in a way I am talking to myself. But I'm kind of used to it, When I'm out in Pennsylvania, I'm actually a radio DJ as my main, occupation, quote unquote, yeah, which is fun, and I get to just talk to myself. Well, that's not true. I do have a co-host. Shout out to my co-host. Oh my gosh. And, it's been awesome. Love you, Ethan. He's an awesome co-host. He's awesome. And, I do WIUP FM on 90.1. That's my station. I do the late night shows, and we mainly just do cigar lounge music, which is really, really fun. It's nice, it's chill, and we just sit and we talk and we just have a really, really good time. And so, okay. I'm looking at the carving I'm doing right now. Let me show you what I got so far. So this is the cross, all right? Now it's a little bit uneven, but again, I'm not super concerned about it being even, because like this is side, how like this side is very steep. This one's just kind of got that swoop. So I'm just gonna carve off this end a little bit. and we'll figure it out bit by bit. But all's well and all is well. All right. Let me just carve these out a little bit. And I am also gonna, I usually like to have like incense, or smelly stuff. I like to have smelly stuff, you know. I light it on fire, I let it burn, and it smells nice, all right? And as soon as I carve this out, I'll show you my little collection that I got, all right? Okay. A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I, blah, blah, 1, 2, 3. Okay, we're cool. I'm gonna set this down for now. I'm gonna hop out of my chair real quick, but I'll show you what I got, all right? So, I have two of these, all right? These are kind of like little sticks that I like to have when I have strawberry and I have lavender. Those are really nice. But what I also like to use for incense is a little pack of cigarettes. I don't smoke, but I like the way tobacco smells. It's so sweet, it's so good, and you just light them on fire and you just put it down there and just let it fumigate, you know? Now, I don't think anyone should be smoking cigarettes. I do not smoke cigarettes. I think it's disgusting, but I like to have a pack to burn and also to save a couple of pairs of lungs, which is good. But we're not gonna do that right now. What we're gonna do is have a little lavender stick, all right? So, what you do to have it, what I do is I snap the end, all right? Snap the end, I'll throw that off to the side. It's all, I'm gonna sweep this all up anyways. And then you're gonna stick it in your little tray. You can buy these at Walmart, and a whole box of them is like $1.50. It's so cheap. And then you're gonna get your lighter, just like this. And get your lighter. I'm gonna light the tip just right here. There we are. Happy birthday to me. No, I'm kidding. That's corny. All right, that's corny. I am a corny person. I'm basically corn on the cob. You know, I was born on the cob, dude. That's crazy. I mean, I am from the Midwest, so it's all funky and cool. So once this is all out, you're just gonna let it die. I'll blow it out, just make it a little faster. There we are. Ooh, my bad. And yeah, you just smell the smoke and it smells really nice. And because the wind is blowing this way, I'm gonna set it right here. So if you see some smoke, that is just a little smelly stick of lavender. I chose lavender. I like, you know, all that. So there we are. I'm just gonna carve a little bit. I'm probably not gonna do the whole process of staining and doing this because we are at a 43-minute video. It's a long time. I understand it's a long time. You probably don't, and probably have not. If you made it to this point, thank you. I love you. God bless you. You must have had this on the background, or if you're intentionally watching it, I love you even more because you're crazy. I would be, you know, out of my mind. But some of you may like the stories that I tell, and I do plan on doing more storytelling, whether that's about my life or me reading a little book or so. But we'll see how this channel goes. All right. And hopefully it'll give what we want out of this. Yeah, I think I did a pretty kick-booty job. It's very, very nice. Yes. I think, is it the best carving in the world? No. Am I a professional carver? No. Do I want to be a professional carver? Maybe. When will I wear wigs? No, I'm kidding. Some of you that may know that reference, I love you. I'm a big Lord of the Rings fan, so that may be awesome. But yeah, I'm gonna carve, I'm just gonna round out the bottom real quick. And then we're gonna cut it here because we're almost at 45 minutes. All right. And I know the video is gonna be very, very long. I'm not gonna edit it just because I don't feel like it. I do not feel like it. And yeah. And round it on out. Yeah. Ooh, my bad. I sent it flying at my phone, which is awesome. My camera. That's why I'm not listening to music. Maybe I could add some music in the videos. Maybe I'll speed it up, you know. Who knows? Alright. Alright. It's not too bad. Yeah. Look what we got here. We got a little orthodox cross. Maybe in the next video I'll tell you how it turns out in the end. But for now, thank you for watching. I love you. God bless. You're awesome. And yeah, I'm just going to pray us out. Lord, thank you for these viewers. Thank you that they are awesome. Praise them if they got to this point in the video. Just make sure that you watch over them and keep them and make sure they have a lovely and blessed day. Amen. I love you guys. Goodbye.